So today we have the pleasure of speaking with Pascal Martinez and Richard Vestner. Pascal is the Director of Business Development, Digital Cities at Bentley Systems, and Richard is Senior Director of Digital Solutions, Digital Cities at Bentley Systems. Recently, Bentley presented OpenCities, a city-scale digital twin platform at the Cities Reboot discussion on data-driven solutions for the new sustainable and inclusive cities during Smart City Live 2020. In this interview, we will be discussing infrastructure, digital twins, and hearing Bentley Systems insights on the future of smart cities. Hello, Pascal and Richard. Welcome, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Hi, Christina.
Thanks for having us.
So I will start off with the first question, and then you can either of you can decide who is best to answer it, or both of you. So to start, how are Bentley Systems and Microsoft working together to accelerate infrastructure digital twin innovations?
Thanks, Christina. That's a good question. I will take it. Microsoft and Bentley Systems share a similar vision of the future of infrastructure and smart cities, and I think that's the basis for this agreement and alliance. And as it was demonstrated by the keynote and year in infrastructure that has come virtual this year in 2020 because of COVID, and but we were very happy to welcome Satya Nadella and Greg Bentley together on the virtual stage, and they've been sharing this common vision they have of future cities and the future infrastructure, and how they can advance this infrastructure through a strategic alliance that's focused on smart cities, solutions for smart cities, for urban planning, smart construction as well, which is a very, very big topic. The alliance combines Microsoft's Azure IoT, digital twins, and Azure Maps with Bentley Systems iTwins platform. That's a new platform that we promote very actively, and with part of open source technology as well, combined with OpenCities solution that we acquired a couple of years ago now, to enable engineers, architects, constructors, and city planners to work within a comprehensive city-scale digital twin. We believe that's a key component to empower better decision-making and operations, to reduce costs on projects, and more importantly, to improve collaboration.
Okay, so since you mentioned OpenCities, can you tell us about the OpenCities, the digital twin platform?
Yeah, absolutely. The cities need digital twins, and they need technology to build these digital twin. A digital twin is a representation of a city that properly renders all aspects of a city, geometrically speaking, the shape of buildings, streets, the vegetation, different assets, utilities, but at the same time, you need live data you collect throughout your city to create something that you can watch on the screen, analyze, share with people, and make decisions on. So, and cities need that because they are facing new challenges. 70% of the population will live in cities by 2050, about 70%, 68%. This requires to make new, quick decisions. And this will require a close cooperation and a continuous coordination with a lot of different stakeholders, public and private stakeholders. So this is where we see that cities will need a digital twin, and OpenCities is here to help them get any data, mapping data, 3D reality mesh data they can use to visualize the conditions of their city, what their city is looking like, and add on top of that any type of information that help them to visualize these data and analytics in the context of the reality, and share this. Very importantly, OpenCities is used to share this with multiple stakeholders, contractors, city owners, but also citizens And a key component of OpenCities and the platform around OpenCities is really to engage citizens in the decision-making process, because that's a key to them adopting the solution, to removing the roadblocks on the way to achieving good progress, being aligned with a budget and schedule, to reduce the disruptions as much as possible. And we all know that in some of our cities where we've been we were born, or we've been living, or are living now, we all know a lot of different projects that have been delayed because of that. Citizens blocking projects because they don't really understand the projects. If they understand better, perhaps they will accept better. So it's all about communication.
Okay. So I'll just ask about a couple of things you mentioned. First, the public and private stakeholders. Do you see an interest in the adoption of infrastructure digital twins by both the public and the private actors who are involved in urban infrastructure?
Yeah, I think that's key as well. I mean, now there's projects are so big, touching infrastructure that are so complex, that the cost of changing them and improving them is really important. And it's touching every single aspect of what a city is made of, and specifically, for instance, utilities. I have an example in mind, a city in Europe that is now re-scanning the entire city. I think it's about 500 square kilometers. And in the preparation of the call for tender, they've been working very closely with local utilities that are private companies. And the idea was that everything they're going to be producing as a city needs to be reused and shared with those private companies. And those private companies are contributing as well in funds and resources to achieve a better digital twin in the end. They need to contribute with their own data. So private, public now, it's all a question of collaboration. And when you come to a very complex infrastructure like water, and I will hand it over to you, Richard, I think it's very important to collaborate better between the different parties.
Yeah, Pascal, definitely. The adoption in the water sector definitely also applies. I mean, I think what I saw happening over the last 6-8 months is that the pandemic has actually shown how sensitive societies are towards a continuous, 24/7 operation of urban infrastructure. And cities and utilities, of course, who have been advancing digitally before the pandemic, were actually better able to respond quickly to things like, working from home or making data available to their staff that needs to consider social distancing, or being able to monitor and control water distribution or treatment from remote. So a digital twin offers, these great possibilities to do this, monitoring what happens right now from a safe position, making you aware of anomalies anywhere in your system, offering predictions, what will happen, so situations can be anticipated, and giving insights to decision makers and field crews who have connection to a digital twin anytime, anywhere, and with any device.
Okay. And could you mention a case studies or several, or one? I think before you mentioned Pascal, a city in particular, where these types of tools are already being implemented?
Yeah, we've got a lot of examples. The first one I should mention is Helsinki. Helsinki has always been at the forefront of innovation, adopting a lot of new technology, and very progressive city in the way they are making decisions and engaging citizens. So OpenCities for them is really a cornerstone of their communication. They really use it to visualize the different projects, to engage citizens and get their feedback. That's very important. And in the northern countries in Europe, that's very cultural. to make collaborative decisions between all different stakeholders, and citizens have a key role in this. Another one that's coming to my mind is more recent. That's Dublin. That's requiring a joint cooperation, a collaboration between Microsoft and Bentley. And Dublin with COVID, which is quite actual, sadly, is not in a position to engage citizens the way they were traditionally doing this. We're asking them to come to the city hall and looking at mock-ups and visualizing projects on the screen and talking to the engineers and the architects, and that's not feasible anymore. So Dublin is now looking at a new way to engage citizens from the safety of their homes. And they engaged Microsoft and Bentley to think about this and propose them a solution. So OpenCities is the right platform for them. It's running on Azure, so that's requiring and leveraging some Microsoft technology as well. And altogether, the idea is to also use Teams, for instance, that we are using now for this interview, to create groups and to engage citizens to give their feedback using team groups. So that's another example. And the final example that comes to my mind is Singapore, another very progressive and advanced city in terms of adopting technology and the city state. So very, very small, very condensed, with a lot happening underground. So another thing which is very important when we think of digital twins, most of the people see what we can see on the surface as humans if we are walking through the city or flying over the city. But a lot is happening underground. All the utilities are happening underground. And that's what needs to be capturing a lot of our attention when we are planning for new projects in the city, because we don't want to disrupt the way infrastructure are functioning. And we also need to understand the capacity of infrastructure to accept more load for accepting new dwellings in a city. So Singapore is pretty advanced on that too, and thinking as well about smart buildings and smart infrastructure. Three good examples. Richard,
and
perhaps?
Let me add two case studies from a water sector perspective. Together with partners, we have implemented a digital twin for the water utility of Porto in Portugal. This city, due to the location, water plays an important role. And hence the utility has early begun to embrace on digital water solutions in order to achieve better understanding and control of their what they call the urban water cycle, which relates to water supply, wastewater, stormwater management, and very important coastal protection. So now their digital twin, accessible through an internet portal, federates their GIS system with asset information and SCADA signals, and merges everything with a dynamic modeling of flow and water quality. And this provides, real-time information and predictions to the, on the one hand side, central control room, as well as to mobile devices for field crews. And as Pascal mentioned, mobile apps are powered for the public, so they can see, what is the state of the water quality at the beach, right? And briefly, a second one, which is just really taking off in Brazil, one of the biggest utilities there, called IGEA. They are taking a stepwise approach with our technology since years, actually, and advancing their digital skills and capabilities, with their people, from reality meshes, from design review, from construction modeling, to integrating OT and IT with ET, with engineering technology, going all the way up to asset and process performance optimization with our new cloud-based solution called WaterSight. Right? And they are receiving a return of investment from every single step, right, which takes them to the next step. And this is wisely following a business strategy. And I think that's really a very good use case, actually.
Okay, quite interesting. Thank you. Well, you've already talked about engaging citizens. I I had a question about that, but I think you've probably already answered it. But in case you want to add anything, and I was going to ask you, how would a city digital twin help to engage citizens into urban planning processes, and why this is an important thing?
You're muted, Pascal.
Sorry. Yeah, it's specifically when it's coming to urban planning. When you've got a new project, you know there are rumors going through the population. People are talking. There's a new residential area. How would that impact traffic? How would that impact mobility? How would that impact my skyline from my balcony or through my window? So it's normal that a new project, the unknown, is creating fears, and we need to understand that. And we've been talking to a lot of different mayors and city officials who had an expertise and experience in going through big problems with citizens because of a lack of communication. Most of the time when people are planning for new projects, they do this for good. They do this for the benefit of a city, to expand the city in a proper way, to improve the quality of life. So sometimes the roadblocks you get or the pushbacks you get from citizens is mostly due to a lack of communication and transparency. So being able to put this on the paper, or now I would say we are in the 21st century, so in a 3D paper, on a mock-up, on a digital twin of a city, and sharing this with the population, with citizens, showing them what will really be the impact of the new projects. Architects are designing in 3D these days, so take the 3D model of the architects and put them at the right place in the city, visualize this, immerse citizens into it. That's definitely waiving a lot of pushbacks. And that's a good way to make your projects quickly adopted by everyone. That's a good way to reduce the operations, because of everybody's accepting this. Everybody's ready to suffer, I would say, for a certain time during the construction. But yeah, this is how you can engage citizens. At the same time, cities are getting more and more connected. They're adopting connected data environments with IoT, so connected sensors for pollution, for traffic, for lighting, for a lot of different things. And that's to the benefit of citizens to be aware of what's happening and to be aware of how their city is living. Take the pulse of a city. And that's another thing I would say is it's a very good way to educate people. Because when you show them the impact of projects on pollution, on mobility, on traffic fluidity, that's a good way for people to know and learn how their city is really developing and in what direction that's developing.
Okay, great. Yeah, because maybe as city dwellers, we're often used to infrastructure as something maintenance and construction is usually associated with all kinds of disruptions. So do you think now this is going to be a little bit more a thing of the past, thanks to the digital twin technology?
Well, I mean, probably you cannot avoid the disturbance by construction itself, right? I mean, there will be noise and you must probably go a detour if you want to take a certain connection with your car or something. But I mean, we will be able to better plan and mitigate disturbance, at least, right? By anticipating what will happen, including, reducing costs and dissatisfaction by being just in time with our measures, by preventing failure, by preventing downtime. So digital twins enable us to be better prepared by using data from the connected data environment, as Pascal said, for predictive maintenance, for asset reliability monitoring, and for performance optimization, right? And finally, city dwellers can be much better informed about what will happen when you transparent city planning portal. And that's also a way to be involved. I mean, just think about a flood event. I mean, if you connect, a flood model with a city digital twin, you can see what happens if you, do very concrete flood protection measures. Then you can point out, if we do this, then this will happen. This street is being blocked. This cellar has to be protected. And with this, you always step into privacy, right? And therefore to involve and to inform citizens with these tools before something happens is a really good tool to get a buy-in, right? To get support, to get understanding. And I would also support this statement by Pascal, to train the city citizens, just to a little bit gain experience with their environment in these cases.
Okay. And now I would like to ask you about something else. Recently, Bentley Systems announced the establishment of Bentley I3 Ventures, a $100 million corporate venture capital fund to accelerate infrastructure digital twins. Could you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, I can take this question because, I came to Bentley through an acquisition of a startup back in 2015 myself. So I can testify that Bentley has a very proactive engagement with innovation and innovative companies in particular. And since the announcements of iTwin platform and the different iTwin solutions, it's very important, I think, to create an ecosystem of companies, of innovative companies adopting iTwin, but also connecting to iTwin to contribute to making digital twins that are using iTwin's technology a better place and a better solution for people to use and make decisions. So this fund is here to accelerate that. That's how we see it. To invest in cities and not necessarily acquire them. It seems that we are now also opening this to co-investing and co-venturing with startups and innovative companies. Bentley has been changing a lot over the past 2 years and creating a lot of new endeavors and initiatives towards digital twins. If you want to learn more about this, and for everyone who's looking at this video, if you are interested, you can go and visit our website, which is dedicated to that, which is www.bentleyitwinventures.com. I encourage you to do this, to learn more about it. That's a great endeavor. We're very excited at Bentley to be part of this.
Okay, great. And now, a little bit earlier, Richard, you talked a little bit about flooding. I'd like to ask you, how can cities use digital twins to improve resilience to extreme hydrometeorological events?
Well, first, resilience is really an important topic now under the changes that happen with climate change. I mean, maintaining continuity and safety and security despite chronic stresses and acute shocks. You could say, despite a pandemic, that's actually resilience, right? And that's a goal, and hence people and cities value resilience. So, and cities are, really highly complex systems of systems. So they have to address a multi-dimensional set of drivers that contribute to resilience, and then make decisions with regard to investments and operations which optimize system preparedness and response of the different scenarios. And some of these scenarios have to be extreme. I mean, we are simply stepping into a new era of extremes. So climate change has imposed heavy rainfalls, flood events, or rising seawater levels upon cities. And this is exactly a field where digital technology, modeling, digital twins is predestined to help, right? I mean, imagine in a virtual model of your city or your subsystem, you can, without disturbing or damaging what happens, your real life, and with comparatively low cost, run what-if scenarios, which demonstrate impacts and consequences of extreme weather events, and of course the counteractions. Simulate chain reactions. And from this, city leaders can draw the right conclusions and explain these decisions much better to the citizens. So a city digital twin with its interconnected ensemble of models allows you to understand and to compare and to predict the performance, taking weather forecasts and processes of drainage, flow, infiltration, all of this into account. Yeah? And the twin then correctly displays all relevant engineering and asset information, like structures, networks, geological conditions, even responsibilities and ownership. So lastly, that is very exciting. The final development stage is then where you use all this actionable information to automate city subsystems according to actual demand, to usage, to load, or to emission thresholds, taking predictions into account and giving forward-looking feedback. So that would be kind of the final step towards what I would call a true Water 4.0 implementation, which is really helping in these extreme situations.
Okay, thank you. And now I would like to ask you, because when you mentioned some case studies, you mentioned Singapore and Helsinki, do you think that infrastructure digital twins are only for the most forward-looking cities, or do you think in the future most modern cities will be adopting these tools?
Well, I think, we actually have city users from all maturity levels. It more depends if you are ambitious enough, right? If you have an ambition and a commitment, then, city size or wealth doesn't matter so much. Cities can deploy digital technologies according to their needs, focusing on their pain points first and advance skills and usage over time. So quite similar to usual technology scaling, I would say that high tech starts, of course, with the very ambitious cities and users, right? The thought leaders who are there, Pascal mentioned Helsinki, in the water sector. But it then, these cities probably have a strategy behind this. They have structures, they have built the mindset, but then this spreads. These are role models. It becomes more mainstream, and the more we further standardize the approach and share these use cases, the more we'll see adoption and followers. And in some years, I simply expect a digital twin will just be an integral part of a city planning and city management. We, through the OpenCities and iTwin platform and solutions, are absolutely committed to enable any city to go digital. So, regardless of size or maturity level, we can take them with us and to make better and quicker decisions and to prepare themselves for future challenges, whatever they be.
I would just like to add something to what you just said, Richard. That's absolutely true. The size doesn't matter in this case. We've got examples of a lot of cities that are the forerunners for adopting digital twinning technologies, and some of those cities are very small. It's a mindset. You want to look forward. You want to simulate the impact of your decisions to make better decisions. You want to better share this with your citizens to get their approval on the project so that things are happening as smoothly as possible. In facing those challenges now, to be prepared for climate change and the security and everything and disasters, it's something that the city needs to be ready for, and the city needs everybody to be on board. So that's how are the stakeholders on board of decisions you're making and contributing to those decisions. So I think that's a key point. It's not necessarily the big cities, the large cities of the world that come to our mind first that are the most advanced in this. Of course, they have taken initiatives, but the small cities as well are running ahead sometimes of the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. I have one final question that is broader about sustainability, and it's how can digital cities contribute to environmental and social sustainability?
I think that probably that's a bit correlated to what I just said. I mean, cities are looking for the best, looking to make better decisions, not just to get the best of their infrastructure, but also to be compliant with regulations and the way people are thinking now. We are all educated in the 21st century, and in most of our countries in the world, we are educated to climate change and global warming and protecting the nature and managing the waste in a better way. So that's something that a city is very aware of, and city officials are making decisions in that direction. We see that going beyond that, that's a political asset. To have a politics that's concerned with quality of life and the quality of the air, quality of the planet, protecting our planet. But at the same time, this is where it meets technology. There's a lot of new technologies coming in cities. It's getting more complex. Lighting, the way we are illuminating our city, is not the same as what we were doing in the past. I have a background in this field a couple of years ago, and it was all about how many street lighting luminaries do I put in a street, and the main reason the main factor for making decision was the cost, and sometimes a bit the design as well. Okay, it needs to be looking good, and it needs to be meeting the regulations, and the cost needs to be as cheap as possible. Now there's another thing when we speak about smart lighting, for instance. Smart lighting is all about it's going beyond changing bulbs, incandescent bulbs with LEDs. It's way beyond that, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, we're going to save money. We're going to protect the environment. It's protecting less heat, for instance. But at the same time, on new poles, people are coming and adding smart features. They want to turn the poles into a charging platform for electrical vehicles. They want to put some 5G antennas on top of those poles. They want to put pollution sensors. They want to put surveillance cameras. So it's not just smart lighting now. It's receiving more features, and those features are contributing to condensing a little bit technology and providing new services to the city that help to not only protect the environment, but also provide a new service to citizens. And I think that's where decisions are contributing to a more sustainable city on the long run.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Well, that was very interesting. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to mention. No? Well, then, thank you very much for answering all our questions today. And it's been very, very interesting for us.